Welcome to Break Free from Corporate, the only podcast dedicated to bringing you business success secrets from leading entrepreneurs with one thing in common. They left the corporate world, became their own boss, and are now living incredible lives. To access previous and all future episodes, visit breakfreefromcorporate.com and subscribe today.
Hey everyone, it's Gavin here from Break Free from Corporate, and welcome to another podcast. I'm really excited today. We've got a very special guest. His name is Pirouz, and I can't wait to get him on this podcast. Basically, he's someone who has built a fantastic business over online through LinkedIn, and I'm going to get into that in just a sec. But I'm really hoping that you guys get a lot out of this. So make sure you get a paper and pen or a notepad or something that you can take down some notes. And he's going to share some wonderful gems with us, and I can't wait for us to get into it. So here we go. All right. Well, as you know, a lot of our listeners are people that have come from either the corporate world or they've worked in large business or government and areas like that, and they're challenged. They've hit a roadblock. They're not sure where their next direction is. They're not sure, whether they should take that plunge into starting their own business. A lot of them are confused. Some of them are scared. They read the news and they see that 8 out of 10 businesses are failing, and they're not sure who to turn to. And folks, for those of you who don't know, Alex Pirouz runs a business called Linkfluencer. Linkfluencer is a company that helps entrepreneurs to better market their business online and using LinkedIn as a tool. Now, some of you have heard of LinkedIn, some of you have probably used it, and a lot of you are probably wondering, how does this even relate to me? So Alex is going to help you with a lot of that stuff on this podcast. Alex, firstly, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Gavin.
Yeah, great. So Alex, now the one thing I wanted to let our listeners know is you've been doing this for a little while. You've got a quite an extensive background in business, but I'm also impressed with what you've managed to achieve in a short space of time. You've been featured on a number of media channels. I was looking at your profile, the Huffington Post, Forbes, Inc. magazine, all the media networks. I mean, you're definitely making a bit of a splash in the headlines.
Yeah, so I guess, is this in terms of just my overall personal brand or around Linkfluencer?
Well, a bit of both. I think with Linkfluencer and your personal brand. So you're definitely someone who is reaching a lot of people and generating a lot of interest with what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I think personal branding is an absolute must in today's business world, because 5-10 years ago, people used to buy into companies' products and then the people behind the company. Nowadays, people are buying into people first.
Yeah.
So there's been a massive flip, and I think what happens is people, before they meet with you, before they sign the dotted line, before they even connect with you on LinkedIn or engage with you, they research you online, and depending on what they find on the internet or through LinkedIn, there's in internet marketing terms, there's this thing called TMOT, which is the moment of truth.
Oh yeah.
So I've been spending the last 3-4 years really building my online footprint and my personal brand, because I know that that's one of the first things people consider before they do business with you. So, and we've used LinkedIn quite extensively to be able to get a lot of media coverage, and we've managed to do that without sending out a press release. So,
wow.
I've been pretty fortunate, and I'm always looking at creating innovative ways to get my message out there, but also reach a wider audience without having to spend a ton of money on PR.
Fantastic. Now, this is going to be music to a lot of people's ears, because when they start a business, as you probably would be well aware of, you don't start with a lot of money, generally speaking, and you've got to be really frugal and smart with what you do with your resources. And so you're telling me there's a way that people can get their name and their brand and reach customers without spending a ton of money on marketing. Is that what you're saying?
100%. Look,
wow.
we started Linkfluencer, this is just one example. We started Linkfluencer literally. All I spent was $150. I created a brochure,
mm-hmm.
and this is my advice for any startup that's about to start their own business. Don't go out there and print business cards, build a website, spend a ton of money on branding. My recommendation is you build a brochure, spend $150, $200. You go out and you start speaking to your customers. Now, one way we did that was, so we built the brochure. We then went to partners, potential partners that had our target market, and we started speaking to them about this business that we wanted to start. And a lot of them actually got us to come in and present in front of their clients. We then secured some one-on-one clients through that. And from there, we identified exactly what our target market wanted based on their feedback. And then we went and built a business around that rather than the other way around. And I learned this strategy from a mentor of mine after I failed in my fourth business venture, and purely implementing this strategy alone, which is really the outside-inside approach, going out, asking your market what they want, delivering it to them. When I applied this, the next two businesses I actually sold. So it's very, very powerful, and it's going to save you a ton of time, money, and the resources you normally would have had to spend.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned a couple of things in there I really want to touch on. You've been in 4 businesses before, and a couple of them didn't work out, and a couple of them did. Now, even prior to that, I think what will where a lot of our audience will relate to you is, and I know we chatted about this briefly before the podcast, you've actually come from the corporate world yourself, right? You made this transition from corporate into your own business.
Yeah.
How did you transition? I mean, what was your journey like, and how did you take those first steps? Let's start from there, and then maybe you can share with us a couple of those businesses that you started that didn't work out, the lessons that you learned, and to take you to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I think it all starts with desire.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew from a young age, like my first business was when I was 13.
Wow.
Obviously, it wasn't a full-blown business with company accounts or anything like that, but I was in high school, and they were running a competition around who could raise the most amount of money for charity.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with an idea to sell chocolates door to door.
Yep.
I then went to factories where within 2-3 weeks their chocolate was actually going to be outdated, so you obviously can't sell it anymore.
Yep.
So I went to them, got free chocolate, built a team of around about 10 people to sell for me. Long story short, I won that competition, and I think that for me was started the burning desire of what it felt like to make my own money and really to shape my own destiny.
Wow.
And so I quit halfway through 11. I then went on to studying electronics,
Mm-hmm.
accounting, etc. And really from there I went on to sell property for a few years,
Mm-hmm.
saved money, and after I saved some money, I then decided to start opening up my own business. And the lessons I learned, so the first 4 years of my journey, I failed in my first 4 businesses, and I probably lost close to $1 million.
Wow. Okay.
And the lessons I learned was, one, you never ever get into business to make money. Big lesson. And I see this in America. I see this in Australia, like where people get into business to make money. Sure, you do want to make money, and that's one of the main reasons why most people get into business. But one of the fundamental lessons I learned, because I got a mentor on board after my 4th business failure, I was very frustrated. I was actually looking to go back into the corporate world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I couldn't bring myself to going back. So I got a mentor on board. Now this guy he came to Australia with less than $5,000 and is now worth easily over 100 million.
Wow.
And so one of the lessons he taught me, he said, never get into business to make money. What you should do is look at an industry, be passionate. First of all, be passionate about business, not a particular industry.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing you want to do is you then want to look at the size of that industry and think, how do I impact millions of people's lives with my product or service? And as a result of doing that, if you have the right team and the right business strategy behind it, you're naturally going to become wealthy. So my whole mindset changed from making money to adding value to people's lives. And that's why we managed to then go on and build my next 2 businesses and be able to exit and sell those.
Fantastic. That reminds me of a quote from a guy called Jim Rohn. Are you familiar with Jim Rohn?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, where he once said, if you can help enough people or help influence enough people to get what they want, you can have everything you want, but you got to help those people first. So
I totally agree.
yeah, very good advice. Well, so now obviously that you've gone through a bit of a journey, a lot of ups and downs, and you've now arrived at this spot where you're building Linkfluencer. How did you actually get into this industry? Because you're talking about your early days with door-to-door sales, and how did that transform into social media and perhaps LinkedIn?
Well, I've always had a passion for sales and marketing,
Okay.
and this is a bit of this is a bit of a tangent, but I see a lot of startups get into business and they put less than 10% focus on sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Now that's not a good way to generate profit or earn a good living or even build a company. So I've always been passionate about sales and marketing. I had an advisory firm after I sold my previous company, and from there I was frustrated around a few things. One, I was running telemarketing campaigns that weren't that effective. I was attending 5-6 networking functions, and literally I'd walk away with 2-3 leads who then try to sell me their product or service the week after,
yes.
which I'm still trying to grasp.
Yep.
And then and I just found that the marketplace was just saturated with coaches who had no business experience whatsoever, but they were actually advising businesses how to run theirs. And so when I noticed that, I thought, look, the traditional forms of advertising and marketing are somewhat outdated or too expensive.
Yep.
So I have to look at a new approach and have to adapt to what the market's telling me. And so I studied different social media channels, and I picked LinkedIn mainly because of three reasons. One, the ability to get media exposure. Two, find partnerships, which is huge in terms of growing your business. And three, generating one-on-one leads. So when I discovered the power of LinkedIn, I then started applying and executing what I had learned, and that's how we got into LinkedIn. And I really saw a need in the marketplace, because every time we'd be doing business advice, people would ask us, well, how do we use LinkedIn? Because there was a bit of hype around it. And
definitely.
That's essentially how it all started.
Fantastic. And I know that a lot of the people I talk to, a lot of business owners, LinkedIn is a bit of it's a bit of a black box for them, because they don't quite understand it. It's something that is quite often misinterpreted as being just for big business or just for the professional network, but not necessarily for small business owners, or perhaps if you're trying to reach a large audience. I don't know. There's a lot of misconceptions on LinkedIn. Can LinkedIn be used by any business, or are there certain businesses where LinkedIn is a bit more advisable?
Well, it's an interesting question, because if you look at LinkedIn, actually, let's strip away from LinkedIn and let's look at. I always say that the sole purpose of why we're in business is, regardless of size, regardless of the industry we're in, regardless of the location of our business, we're all in the business of marketing.
Yeah.
And marketing is 10% what you say, 90% how you say it.
Love it.
So if you look at it from that standpoint, the sole purpose of actually us going out there and marketing our business is to get our message in front of key decision makers.
Mm-hmm.
So the way to demystify LinkedIn is there's now 330 million members. 49% of them are actually key decision makers.
Right.
So there's no other tool in the world right now that gives you the same capabilities LinkedIn does for free. Like literally, even if you have a free account, you can go in and you can start connecting with hundreds, even thousands of your target market, literally every single week. And there's no other platform that will enable you to do that. Now, if your main clientele or your target market at B2C, generating one-on-one leads, probably not a good fit for you. But you could still use LinkedIn to get massive amount of media exposure, which is going to get your message in front of thousands of people, but also build your personal brand and online footprint. And as you know, Gavin, you've learned a lot about joint venture partnerships.
Yes.
And that to me is more exciting than generating one-on-one leads, because I'm getting my message in front of people who already have trust and have belief in this person that's actually promoting me. So even if you're B2C, you can still use media and partnerships.
Yep.
But in saying that, if you're B2B, then you can use the whole repertoire, which is lead generation as well.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Alex. I think the whole idea of building partnerships, so rather than trying to go after one-on-one individuals, which you'll get there, but it'll take you a long time. It's probably more strategic to find out who are the target partners you can work with that already have trust or a rapport with you, that have access to the same target market as yourself, and then work with them and then get your message out to 10 times as many people.
Totally agree.
Cool. Now, with talking about LinkedIn, and I suppose on a broader scale with social media, obviously the last few years has seen a change in the way etiquette and things have evolved. So, gone are the days, I suppose, where people would just go, oh, I suppose it still happens, where people would just tag you and go, add me on add me to your LinkedIn network, and then straight away start selling to you, because no one wants that, right? So there's obviously a proper way to connect with people and build their trust. And I'm sure you've got a strategy or steps that people can follow to actually do this the right way.
Yeah, I see this a lot. So what usually happens is people will connect with you, send you a generic invitation, and then right after they send you an invitation, you might accept, and then after you accept that invitation, they actually bombard you with sales messages.
Yes.
Right? It happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a classic example of, I'm just going to use this because it is, most people will relate regardless of where you are. It's like going into a bar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a single guy. I'm going into a bar. I see an attractive woman that I want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I approached this bar, and instead of asking her for a name or just having a general conversation, I asked her to marry me.
Wow. Okay.
So how do you think that would go down, Kevin?
Look, probably not very good.
Okay, so I'll probably get a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, so so if you look at it in that context, most people are actually doing that, but on LinkedIn. So they'll connect with you, and then all of a sudden they want to sell you their service before they've even built a relationship with you.
Yeah.
So the key with LinkedIn, or the key in marketing in today's business world, is content. Provide great content, value, educate through a series of steps, and the number of steps depends on how much your product or service is worth and what your sales process looks like. But generally, you have to provide great content, build a relationship with that target market or that person, and then promote your product. Because at that point, you're top of mind, they trust who you are, they see you as an expert, and they're more likely to actually buy money off you. Because let's be honest, the power is in the the power is in the court of the consumer at this point.
Absolutely.
They can decide between 1,000 people compared to 5-10 years ago, where they didn't actually have the power of the internet and the information now available to make quality decisions.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, if you were to compare now to, say, pre-internet days, you would normally pick up the phone and talk to someone. You'd have to build rapport, or even outside of that, if you met someone and walked into their office, you would say hello, you would shake their hands, you would, you'd get to know them. You wouldn't straight away walk into someone's office and start selling, because that would be a very quick meeting.
Very quick meeting.
And it surprises me that people have forgotten that etiquette, or maybe they're just not aware of it, because social media is not, it's all behind the scenes. So when they connect with someone, they haven't quite established that person as maybe a real human being. At the end of the day, you still have to talk to that person. You need to build rapport, and because you're not face to face with that person, it probably takes a little bit more than just connecting. Am I right?
Oh, 100%. I think I believe that the etiquette in terms of how you build a relationship with an individual hasn't really changed, right? But social or the marketing channels have dramatically changed, but how you build a relationship with a person 20 years ago is very similar to how you do it now. You got to meet them, you got to understand who they are, what their needs are, how can you bridge the gap for them and solve that solution. So I totally agree with you.
And would you advise to some of the people listening on the call, sometimes if people connect with you, they may not necessarily be the right fit for what you're trying to do. So sometimes you can be strategic in who you connect with, not just connect with anyone for the sake of connecting.
Look, the good thing about LinkedIn is you can connect with, I believe it's over 330 million people now. So
wow. Okay.
You've got a bit of choice in terms of who you want to connect with, and you don't have to worry about, there's only 200 people that I can connect with and try to connect with every single one of them. So there is choice, and we've come up with a formula over the years in terms of making sure you add a lot of people to your network, but also ensuring those people are quality. So, because there's a massive debate, ongoing debate around quantity versus quality, whereas with our strategy, you can actually have both. And I recommend looking at their profile picture, making sure that they've got more than 150 connections, and they fill that more than 50% of their profile. If they have 2 out of those 3 things ticked, then most likely they're serious about LinkedIn rather than just curious.
Yeah. And would you also say that, when people look at your profile, they're making judgments and assumptions on whether you're a serious business owner? So if you haven't updated your profile picture properly, or you haven't written a proper description, or you haven't, filled in your profile adequately, you are potentially missing out on business partnerships, or you're missing out on people who otherwise would want to deal with you because you haven't done your homework.
Totally.
Yeah.
Look, in today's business world, your first impression is either your best or last.
Yeah.
Right? People don't have time for you to make a second impression.
Yeah.
So, and now that LinkedIn is actually the biggest social platform for business, what happens is your LinkedIn URL or your profile URL will actually come up first within the search, like whether people search through Bing, Google, wherever that might be, that will come up first.
Interesting. Yeah.
So if your profile is the first thing people look at, and that isn't really representative of who you are, then you've got no chance of securing that client or building that relationship.
No, very good point. And obviously, we're spending some time talking about LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is one of many other avenues when it comes to marketing, or when it comes to even social media. And so I guess it should be used appropriately. It's not the only tool, but it is a very powerful tool.
Oh, very powerful tool. I think when you look at traditional networking compared to online networking, normally what happens is people go to a few networking functions. Usually they're untargeted. You speak to a whole like random people and walk away with literally 1 or 2 leads, if that, per week.
Yeah.
So you got to spend time traveling, which is time away from your business. You got to spend money actually going to these breakfast events.
Yes.
And then third of all, you're getting no return. Whereas with LinkedIn, you can actually go find your target market, network with them, and build that relationship with them. And you can like literally connect with 72 people a day. That's essentially the limit.
Wow.
So name me another tool that enables you to get your a connection with 72 people.
No, I can't think of any. And I can tell you, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours going to networking events and breakfast, like you said, and spending a lot of money, a lot of time, walking away with business cards, only to probably never call most of them. And I get spammed, and I get bombarded with all sorts of requests to join other people's businesses, and it really never gets anywhere. And it's frustrating. And you think you're doing what you can, but you're actually not being effective.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, good tip. Alex, tell me now, obviously all this stuff has happened. You've built up a bit of expertise in this area. You're helping a lot of people to better market their business, and you've brought your business to a certain point. So if we were to fast forward to where we are today, and you've come through a journey from your corporate days and the ups and downs and all that. What's life like now, having got your business off the ground. You are working with hundreds of people or thousands of people, and you are now being recognized in a lot of media coverage, etc. What is life like as an entrepreneur who's fought through the hard days and hasn't given up, basically?
Well, a few things. One, there's bigger problems, which is great. I love problems. I think anytime you wake up and you don't have a problem, you should get on your knees and beg to God that you find one, because that's really how you grow as an individual. And I always say, to be an entrepreneur, it's a privilege. It's not a given right.
Yeah.
And I wake up every day. I'm passionate about what I do. I love being able to help people go from where they are to where they want to be. So to me, there's nothing better than that. So I find the days are very busy. First of all, I think I wake up with a vision of where I want to be, both as an entrepreneur, but also where I want the company to be. So I'm always striving towards that. And so that's about it.
No, that's good. That's good. And do you have much of a routine in your daily life? Because if you think about the people who are listening to this call, a lot of them are coming from structured backgrounds, working in corporate 9 to 5, or set hours and all of that sort of thing. I know when you start your own business, suddenly you are your own boss. All the times go out the window. You probably end up working longer hours and you don't realize it. And life becomes a bit crazy and there's no balance. So how do you find balance in what you do?
Okay, I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question, because people always ask me how many hours do you work. First of all, I say I don't work, I build.
Great.
That big difference between I don't get up, I don't see it as work. One, I'm very passionate about it. Two, I work 16, 17-hour days, not because I have to, but because I want to. So I actually, in terms of work-life balance, I'd probably say that I'd be ill-advised to give you a good opinion on that.
No, that's good.
For me, if I could not sleep and work 24 hours, if there was a way someone showed me to do that, I would honestly do that, because I love what I do. I see the impact we're making on people, and I want to be able to make more of that impact. So
I love it.
I don't really have structure. I usually attend to emails so I set aside 2 hours every day purely for emails.
Okay.
In the morning, I make sure that regardless of what I have scheduled, there's at least 2 hours of being on the phone. So talking to existing partners, talking to new partners,
right.
Doing some sort of activity that's helping the business from a sales and marketing point. Right. So I always do that. I do take a 45-minute nap, and I usually do that around 6, 7. Okay. And it's more of it just charges my batteries, or I go to the spa and just unwind and listen to music, and nice. that usually helps me kick back into when business really starts, which is at 9 p.m.
Yeah, fantastic. I like the fact that you said, if you could, you'd work 24 hours a day. But for you, you don't see work as work, because the fact that you're passionate about what you do, work doesn't enter the equation. You're just doing what you enjoy doing.
Yeah, there's nothing better. There's no better feeling than waking up and knowing that you have the right to do what you want, when you want, how you want it. It's that to me is just, that's the whole reason why I got into business, because you've got that freedom to be able to do what you want, essentially.
And that's probably one of the big lessons people can take out of this podcast, which is, if you're going to get into some sort of business and you're going to walk away from a corporate job or good income, and you're going to try something, don't, like Alex says, do something you're passionate about, do something that you can see yourself doing in the long term. Quite often I see people, they leave a good job, they go into business and they hate it. They're working crazy hours and they have less of a life. Their relationships are in turmoil, and they're questioning, they're making no money if or very little money. And a lot of the times the business doesn't work out, and they burn out and they end up back in the corporate world, and they feel dejected, and they're another statistic. And I think what you said, Alex, is really powerful, in that you wake up every day passionate. And I think if you can find something that you are passionate about, then go after that. And maybe that's something people can take away.
Oh, and look, I totally agree. And I might just add, because there might be a few people who are looking to start their own business, and they might have kids,
Yeah.
and they might have a family, etc. And their circumstance probably is very different to where I am. I'm single. I don't plan on getting married in the next couple of years. Obviously, first I have to find the right girl. But
LinkedIn might be a good place to start with that as well.
It's happened. I've had a couple of inquiries over LinkedIn.
Oh, there you go.
Nothing's eventuated. But so I guess you have to look at your situation. You got to see what works for you. For me, right now, it works in terms of doing 17, 18-hour days. Whereas someone who is married, maybe that doesn't work. So you do have to look at the other areas of life and what's important. And at the same time, you got to understand that you will need to make sacrifices. I love playing basketball. I love traveling. I love sport. I love hanging with friends. But I got to understand that I can't have everything and build a massive business right at the very start. So at the start, you have to put in it. You got to grind.
Yeah.
And maybe down the track, so in a year's time, I won't be in this business. I'll be in another business. But at the same time, I'll probably still do the same hours because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
But I think for when you first start, you have to, especially as within your first business, you got to grind, you got to work extensive hours, and you got to be committed to sacrificing some of the things that you normally would have done on a Friday, Saturday night, or any other night.
Yeah, very good advice. Very good advice. Awesome. Now, Alex, I want to change gears a little bit. We've talked about some really good tips that people can follow. I think a lot of people will probably be thinking, oh, actually, maybe that business idea isn't such a good one now, because I can see that that's probably not going to work out, or they're making some decisions, which is great. What are your thoughts on people, belonging to some sort of a network or a support group, or having a mentor or a business coach or something like that to help them? Because quite often it's a very lonely journey as an entrepreneur. And, I wanted to ask you, who do you turn to, or do you have someone that you turn to when times get tough?
Yeah, I think your network is your net worth.
Yep.
And so I definitely recommend at a startup level, you probably don't have the funds to be able to get an advisory board within your business. But what you can do is you can offer people who have been there, done that experience, find those mentors specifically around your industry. So if you're getting into the technology space, find someone who has either sold or is in a successful business around technology, and get them to mentor you. And you'll be surprised. Most people are willing to meet up for coffee or do a lunch every month to be able to give you some great advice on what you should do. And I'd rather learn from other people's mistakes than make my own. So I'd definitely be getting some mentors on board.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can also get mentors on board by giving them equity or giving them a shareholding stake.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an option as well. But definitely get some mentors on board. I have a few that I consult to. So I've got a great accountant on board. I've got a good lawyer. I've also got a guy who's sold his business for over $100 million, and he advises me on my sales and marketing. And I don't pay these guys any money. I help them where I can in terms of getting into media, and in return, they just, whenever I need to pick up the phone and give him a call or do lunch, they're more than happy to help. So I'd definitely be getting mentors. I personally think that's probably going to be the most amount of leverage you're going to get in terms of building your expertise.
Yep.
I think business coaches are good as well. Find one that's actually sold a business or been in business. And definitely be part of a network of people who are going to support you and build you up rather than knock you down. And so they're the three things that I'll definitely do.
Very good advice. Very good advice. All right. In the interest of time, now let's move to the the next section of the podcast, Alex. And really, this is one I call rapid response section. I don't know if you had a look at some of the stuff I sent you earlier, but I'm going to ask you 5 quick questions, and whatever comes to the top of your mind, just yell it out. It doesn't. There's no right or wrong, and we're just going to have a little fun in this section. Are you ready to do it?
This could be dangerous. Let's do it.
It could be dangerous. You just shoot from the hip. All right.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite mode of learning? Video, audio, reading? Video. Okay. Something quirky about you that no one knows.
Something quirky about me that no one knows. Can we come back to that one?
You can come back to that one. Okay. All right. Do you have
Can I call a friend?
You might be able to call a friend.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite role model?
Michael Jordan.
And why? Why Michael Jordan?
Well, I think Michael Jordan, he's left a legacy way beyond his own years.
Mm-hmm.
He's pushed through immense amount of adversity to get to where he is. He had an uncanny ability to deal and perform under pressure. He changed the way he put NBA on the world stage. And like Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, these are some of the greatest people who will ever walk on this planet. And for those reasons, I see him as one of the guys that I look up to.
Yeah, well, no, that's brilliant. Michael Jordan's one of my heroes as well. He actually said, you probably know this as well, that one of the reasons he achieved success is because he failed more than anyone else he knows. So
exactly. That's why he's the greatest.
Yeah, he is. All right. What about a cause or a charity that you support?
Club Kidpreneur. So Club Kidpreneur, we teach 8 to 12-year-olds how to start their own micro business. Mm-hmm. And then we do that through online programs, boot camps, 8-week courses. And then what they do is they then take their business concept to the markets, and they, prove the concept, but any money that they make, they either reinvest it into their own business or give it to a charitable cause that they're passionate about.
Awesome. And do you have a favorite quote that you like sharing with people, or is there a book or something that you can highly recommend that our listeners can tap into?
Yeah, so this quote, I don't know whether I made this up or whether I picked this up somewhere, but right. There's a quote that I live by every single day, and it's mainly based around rejection, sales, getting up. When you're down and out, getting up and giving it another shot. So essentially, it goes like this: so some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting.
Ooh, that I've heard a different version of that, which is, I love that, by the way, which is some will, some won't. What was the third one? Some will, some won't. So what? And then move on. Move on. Yeah. Oh, very good. I like it. Yeah, you've that's good. And have you thought about something quirky about yourself?
So reframe that question for me, because then I might be able to come up with something.
All right. Tell us something about you that probably not a lot of our listeners would otherwise find on your profile, or something about you that maybe they don't know.
I think I kick ass in ping pong.
I did see that somewhere. I'm gonna have to give you a game at some point, because that's one of my favorite games. But that's awesome. So you're a sports lover. You love connecting with people. You love helping people. I really admire what you're doing in your business, Alex. I think it's fantastic. You shared some great tips, which I know are going to help a lot of our audience that are, taking their first steps into business. And I hope that they get a lot of value out of what you've shared today. So thanks very much for doing that. You're
welcome. Do you mind if I just leave you with one thing that I think if the listeners take just this tip, it will make a profound impact in terms of, one, whether they start a business, but two, whether they'll be successful as an entrepreneur.
Please do.
So before I get into any business, what I do now is I sit down and I write 65 reasons why that business, or why I must succeed in that business. Now, if you can't come up, and I'll give you a quick story around this. So when I ran an 8-week course for Club Kidpreneur, there was a kid called Aaron. And Aaron was one of those kids who was very shy. He the most he would say is yes or no. There would be no sort of conversation with him. But the funny thing about Aaron is, regardless of what happened and how shy he was, he would always complete the homework that we gave kids for the week. And so we got to the 7th week. It's an 8-week program, and I was feeling inspired. So I turned around to the kids and I said, look, anyone who writes 45 reasons why they want to be a successful entrepreneur, I will mentor every single one that writes 45 reasons for the next 3 months. I will come to your house every week, help you build your business. And if you need me to go out there and sell it for you at the markets, I'll do that.
Wow.
So I put myself out there thinking, look, I hope at least 2-3 kids come back and they have some. I didn't think anyone would write 45 reasons.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, I wouldn't write 45 reasons.
That's fine.
But anyway, long story short, next week we come back and all you can hear is what I was expecting anyway, which is I left my reasons on the bus.
Yeah.
You know, the dog ate it.
Excuses. Yes.
I was having his showers in my pocket, whatever excuses that you normally hear, right, from kids.
Yeah.
And then in walks Aaron, and Aaron walks up to me, gives me a few paper notes, and I can see that it's written 44 reasons.
Right.
So I went to Aaron and I said, first of all, phenomenal effort. Most adults would not even come up with 44. You've come up with 45. You come up with 44. So in the spirit of entrepreneurship, we don't fall short. We always complete on a task that we're given. So I need you to go write the 45th reason. Now the teacher pulls me up, and whilst Aaron's gone about doing that, and he said, I have to tell you something, and I felt a little bit awkward because I thought I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And the teacher said, Aaron's actually dyslexic.
Right.
So, which gave me goosebumps straight away, because if a kid who is dyslexic can write 44 reasons, then us as adults, we have no excuses to come up with 65.
Yeah.
If we really want something, we'll do it.
Exactly.
So Aaron goes back, writes his 45th reason, which is passion. And that's where I came up with the whole concept of writing 65 reasons why you must succeed in business. If you can't come up with 65, that is not a business I would enter, because when the going gets tough, you'll find any reason to quit.
Yeah.
And the powerful thing about the 65 reasons is that you get up to about 25, 30, and all the superficial stuff like I want a nice car, provide for, buy a car, travel, all this sort of stuff stops. And then all of a sudden, you now have to dig deep into the core emotional reasons and the real reasons, in my opinion, why you want to build that business.
I love it. It's very good. See, yeah, that's very powerful, Alex. I'm gonna try and do this exercise. Well, not try. I'm gonna do this exercise now. I'm hoping I can get to 65. But thank you for sharing that story. I think that's going to help a lot of people crystallize whether the business they're in or about to get into is the right one for them. So thank you, my friend. I hope all good things come to you in the future with Linkfluencer and anything else that you put your mind to. And I look forward to, more things that we do together. But thank you very much for your time on this podcast.
No, I appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity to be able to share the message.
You're welcome. If you like this podcast and would like to understand a little bit more about what was just discussed, then you're in luck. Simply head over to breakfreefromcorporate.com and we have a fantastic bonus gift waiting for you to download. All we ask in return is that you leave us a review on iTunes and or Stitcher, whichever you use. And lastly, help us share this podcast around with your friends, your colleagues through Facebook, Twitter, Google+, or LinkedIn. We truly appreciate all your support and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode of Break Free from Corporate. Once again, to access previous and all future episodes, visit breakfreefromcorporate.com and subscribe today.